Hi Monish, good afternoon on a Friday afternoon, and thank you for being a part of this podcast that we'll record today at For Joy of Performing.
Thank you, Gaurav,
I
for
think
being here.
I just want to tell the audience that I've known Monish for maybe 2 decades, maybe 15 years, 2 decades now. And I've always appreciated the way he thinks about marketing business as a whole. And I've learned a lot over the period of time. So, Monish, thanks for being here. And I'm sure the audience will get a lot of good nuggets which they can take back to their business, to their creative world, and see what is the best they can do with the topic that we are discussing today, which is all about storytelling.
Perfect. Thanks, Gaurav, once again. Just wanted to tell the audience that the respect is mutual. Me and Gaurav have had ups and downs, but we've always learned to make sure that we learn from each other's skills, and I think that's the reason I'm here with him.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that, Monish. So, diving right into the topic, Monish, the art of storytelling, which I think is much more meaningful today, the world that we live in with so much technology, so much of data involved in marketing. It's no more just an art and something that we were catching up maybe a week back or so. It's absolutely science, but the art cannot be ignored. So, before we dive into the topic, maybe a quick introduction of your background, and then what do you think about the topic in the first place? We can start from there.
Sure, Gaurav. So I've been a marketer since about 3 decades now. I've seen marketing at a time when we used to do, fonts were done by the hand. So they were handwritten fonts. From those times to times which are now where fonts are largely more tech oriented. We've seen days when there were posters. We've printed posters. We've stuck them on the walls to get people to be aware of what the brand is. And today, from posters, it is social media posts. So I think the entire journey of the last 3 decades has been so evolving. And if you really think about it, Gaurav, besides the financial world and besides the technology world, but from an old school economy, right, marketing is probably one of the fastest evolving industry which has evolved over a period of time. Right. I mean, today you see cement, you see aluminum, you see manufacturing, you see airlines. Yes, there have been certain element of transformation happened in those areas as well. But if you look at it holistically, like the way finance has moved from going to the bank every day to not going to the bank at all, right? I think marketing has also actually taken a 360-degree turn. So yes, I was blessed with working for very famous personalities in India, large brands. We built Hyatt as a brand in India. We launched a couple of Hyatts in India. Right, we worked with the largest kidswear brand. We launched that brand. We literally grew that brand from scratch. We've also been an agency for the largest electrical company in India. I mean, they've been in existence since almost 7 decades, right? And so we met them about 20 years back, and since then they've been our clients. So yeah, it's just been a hardcore marketing journey. I could have called myself a more advertising person, but I think from advertising it's now more marketing because everything now is a blend of a lot of techniques and tools that come together to deliver a result.
Hmm. Very well. And I think, Monish, tell me about this double clicking on that journey and the way it has changed over the last 2 decades, right? And it doesn't, I mean, what I've seen is that change doesn't happen same over the period of time. There are decades where you just take a leap. So in the last maybe 2 decades, what are those 2 or 3 big moments that marketing has seen, which I think are very important for the audience to understand, to make sense of all of this and marketing as a unit, if I may ask?
So I think there are three big leaps, right? One is very common, right? It's the whole digital leap, right? Where the entire digital ecosystem that was built right from web pages to websites to apps to Google ads to the whole entire online funnel strategy and so on and so forth, which today we all largely most of our brands use. Right? So I think that's the first big shift. The second big shift I believe has been in the mindsets of people. I think the consumer has shifted. And it's a very simple thing. Like earlier, women used to buy a sari and then come home and show it. Today, women will show the sari and then buy. So it's a very simple analogy of how today the pictures come to you saying that should I buy this, should I not buy this? Instead of it being bought and then being shared. I think that's the second shift. And I think from the world of marketing, the third biggest shift has been if you see largely in most organizations, the chief marketing officer has become, he's not more than 30, 32 years old, right? In our days when we started advertising, when we started marketing, the chief marketing officer used to be a 45, 50 year plus guy, one of the very important people from the owner's family or from the owner's ecosystem. He suddenly becomes the marketing head. In most places, the sales head was the marketing head, right? But now, if you see, it's the young guys, 31, 32. They come out of great schools. They learn marketing. They are very astute, and I think that's the third big shift, which is the marketing role in an organization is not with a person who only has the experience. It's with the person who understands the new age today and also has the experience.
That actually brings me to an important point that I want to discuss, right? So that means that it is not so much of a talent, but an acquired skill today. If somebody wants to be a marketeer, it is not about they have that sixth sense of creativity or storytelling. It is more about how do they learn about what is happening in the marketing world and can deploy that for their business. Am I right in saying so?
Partly, Gaurav, but I think the only skill required to do marketing, whether it's digital, whether it's old school, where tomorrow I don't know if it's going to be robotics. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But I think the
Sure.
only skill required to do marketing is to understand your consumer. That's it, right? The mediums are going to change. Yesterday it was newspaper, today it is website, tomorrow it will become apps, the day after tomorrow it might become something else. We don't know. But the way a customer purchases will never change. That mindset will never change. Whether it's $1 million guy with $1 million in his bank, or whether it's me, or whether it's anybody else, every person who buys a pen will first check the pen on a white paper whether it's working or not. He's not going to change that, right?
Right.
So a consumer doesn't change. So that's the only skill one requires, is to deeply understand who your customer is and what does he want.
Sure. And how difficult or easy it is. I mean, if you have money in the bank and if you are a big organization, you can get into all kind of research, scientific research, and there are many ways to kind of dissect this problem of consumer research, right? And understanding a consumer. But for a company which is like an SMB, maybe have a D2C brand or a retail brand or a B2B business like a technology business like ourselves, Job, which is, still kind of scaling the business as we go along. How does a company like us kind of solve this problem of understanding your consumer better?
I think there are two aspects to this, Gaurav. One is to understand when is it that the customer buys into your proposition. There is a point of time in your conversation, there is a point of time in your presentation where his eyebrows are going to raise up saying that, hey, you know what, these guys are talking the right thing, right? It's what we call the tickle point in marketing, which is what is it, that point that tickles it. Now that becomes really your USP of selling, right? The second important thing is, in my opinion, is the most important factor of growing an SMB and products and organization like yours is to make sure that your first 10 customers are extremely happy with what you do. We are always in this run for getting new customers in. I think Facebook, Pinterest, they all have taught us one thing: the first 1,000 will get you the next million, right? So focus deeply on your the first five, first 10, first two customers, doesn't matter. Make them a case study. Let them actually go out and tell the world, hey, you know what? When job came in, I was this, and today I am this. Right. So
Very well.
I'm not saying while you do not do business development, but I would say if you have a 8 hour day, I would say spend 6 hours to think about how can I better this particular client of mine and take him to the next level easier and faster.
I think that's so well said, Monish, because you're absolutely right. The moment we hear the word marketing, we all already in our brain we start thinking about customer acquisition, right?
Right.
And how is it a platform to acquire new customers? but getting your customers to be your advocate and talking about what you do and what you do better and why are you so much better from your competition is so important, right? So how can marketing play a role in that? Does marketing play a role with existing customers and be the voice of your business with that?
So marketing is just the topic that we are having, right? It's the power of storytelling. Now, what is it that your customer is buying a product, is buying your value proposition. Let's say your customer is a cement construction background. Example, right? Is a cement company. Now, while you're looking at getting him to adopt to OKRs and getting him to adapt to newer ways of checking performance of his team and the company, I believe that what is important is the way you talk to him. Right? What are the kind of small things? What are the kind of emailers that are going to him? Is the emailer only about the product, or is the emailer about the future of cement and technology? Are you telling him how to make cement? No. Are you telling him I know better than you? No. All you're saying is you're taking your field, which is technology, you're taking his field, which is cement, and trying to create a I would say a context where he starts learning from you. Point one. Point two is when we go to meet these guys, yeah, when we go and pitch to these clients, the pitch needs to have a story. What is that one thing he's going to take back? Instead of saying, hey, you know what, this product will help us change the way we are measuring performance of our teams, he should say this product is going to make my employees happy, or this product is going to make me more efficient, and hence I will save cost.
Hmm.
So it's always about keeping the customer first and then coining the story around it.
No, that's very interesting. If I may ask, Monish, that maybe one or two examples from your experience that where storytelling actually made a huge difference, and how was the business maybe doing it before versus when you got involved, and what made the change? That would be super useful for our audience.
So I'll give you a very, very nice example about a brand called Phenolics Cables, right? Phenolics Cables is like the Tata of the cables industry, right? Electrical wires industry. Very, very trustworthy, extremely transparent. When you walk into their factory, they're very the whole sense is about this company is here to stay and here to stay for a long time. Very legacy driven company. Hardly people leave that organization. They hardly fire anybody. They're always helping their people, and they are today a 7-8 thousand crore company. Now they launched. They were almost the last in the category to launch fans, right? Pankha, and it was a big challenge, right? How do you I mean, fans A has got a huge unorganized market. So even today, most of us don't know what is the make of the fan in our room. Right? Today we might just go and see, oh, it is Havells. Or sometimes you'll realize it is no brand because the electrician has gone and picked up a white fan and he's put it up. So there is a huge unorganized market. Then there are brands which are already that are launching fans like Havells, Polycab, RR Kabel, so on and so on. Now here comes, I would say, the Amitabh Bachchan of electrical and wires, saying that I'm also launching this. We had a challenge. We said, how is it that we are going to make this brand of fans, which is the Phenolics fans, be popular in a extremely fast manner? Which is, how do we communicate to people saying that our fans are a superlative, they are the air that they send out is better than others, and I yet had to maintain the leadership position of Phenolics, the brand that it is. So we researched and we said, is it the Amitabh Bachchan of fans? Is it the Shah Rukh Khan of fans? Is it the Virat Kohli of fans? We said no, it's the Rajnikant of fans. Now when you say it is the Rajnikant of fans, the fan is supposed to do things which no human can do, because Rajnikant does things that only he does, and nobody else can ape him. So we created an creative thought on how there is an astronaut in space, and he's having his aloo paratha, and he forgets his pickle at home. right? And he sends his message to his to the to from space, which the entire news industry carries, saying that astrologer has forgotten his pickle. His mom puts the pickle on the Phenolics fan, and the pickle goes up. It is only what Rajnikant can do. So if you
Wow.
see YouTube and if you see the Phenolics fan film, it's
Hmm.
one of the most viral films in that category ever made. So we just the only thing that got us to do this was we said while the brand is a leader in its category, let's make him the Rajnikant in the category.
Sure. I mean, just to connect the dots, I love the way, this energy drink does it, right? So, Red Bull,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
says you get wings. I mean, you don't get wings with Red Bull, but every time you think of that brand, you understand that that's what you're gonna get, right? While there are so many energy drinks out there as well, which are sold as commodity. So I think it is so important to tell that story, and how different you tell that story to not become a commodity. Otherwise, as you rightly said, fans the biggest commodity on in the market today. So absolutely, I completely understand what
And
you're
just
saying.
to add to your Red Bull case, so Red Bull doesn't sell drinks; it sells freedom, right? Hence, it is you get wings. They don't sell the drink. They never talk about it. You see a Rolex ad, Rolex sells status. They don't sell a watch, right? So I think that's the power of storytelling from a brand standpoint. But I think from a technology standpoint, Gaurav, it becomes even more important because it's important for every tech product founder, co-founder, CEO, MD, whatever, to understand that that product is supposed to do something rationally and do something emotionally for the consumer. It's not just taking a person from point A to point B, and that's not why Google Maps are made. While that is happening, the real reason is you won't get lost. You will save your time.
Hmm. Yeah, technology is just an enabler for that.
It's just an enabler. Correct.
I like this whole concept of connecting the rational with the emotion. I think that's a very small nuance, but any business owner who is creating a brand of their own needs to understand that very well, because if there is no emotional connect, they can have the best product out there which rationally works very well, but they are not going to be buyers for that.
I mean, you have the world's best example of how does a consumer buy product from his heart and not from his brain, and that is Apple, right? Have we ever spent a lakh rupee on a phone? Never. That man knows, Steve Jobs knew how to talk to your heart and not talk to your right brain, but talk to your left brain.
Hmm. Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, the legacy continues. And the beautiful thing about Monish, in my view, brands is that once made, it's about a legacy then, right? If you're able to create and maintain that brand, you maybe invest once, but you're able to reap the benefit of that brand for your lifetime. So I think that's the beauty of it as well, right?
And Gaurav, one more example, a very famous example, very old school, but a very famous example is Bajaj. When they came up with this line, Buland Bharat ki Buland Tasveer. It was early 1970s. Indira Gandhi had declared emergency. India was in a turmoil. Youngsters in those years, in those days, in that era, right? Maybe your younger father or my younger father, they all were very frustrated, right? They didn't know whether India would progress. They didn't know whether India would ever be able to be strong enough again. And here comes a brand which took that mood of the country. And believe me, early 1970s, when Indira Gandhi had declared emergency, every business was suffering. People didn't know whether tomorrow morning will I get a business or will I not be able to run a business. And there comes a brand which says, I believe that Bharat is yet Buland Tasveer. So I think that's a classical, I would say, idea of storytelling.
Very well. No, great. So, so now let me shift gears to technology a little. I think storytelling is absolutely great, and I think connecting emotionally with the brand is absolutely needed, as we have discussed. and having that face of a brand, right, where people can distinguish and not just put in the same category as a commodity is extremely important as well. So with all of that, the technology that is there today, and with AI coming in, how will that now change the way you take all of these great things that you have about marketing and combine it with technology and AI and can use it to your benefit as a business? So what are your thoughts on that?
See, I think with AI coming in, the level of creativity will only become faster, right? Uh, why I'm saying it might not become better is because even if today anybody tries saying that make a campaign for women's wear brand, right? Now AI will give you suggestions, your client might like it, but it does not yet have the essence of the brand. The essence of the women's wear brand is that the cotton, for example, the cotton that they use is from, let's say, from some place, because of which it makes the fabric even more better. Now, what storytellers have to do is to nudge AI to come to that point. Instead of telling AI make a campaign for a women's wear brand that makes cotton garments, you nudge the AI in such a way that if cotton is going to be my biggest USP for this brand, what then should be my social media campaign, right? So you have to speak to AI as if you are briefing AI and not taking directions from it.
Well, that also is a big advantage, right,
Very good.
Monish? Because if you're able to brief right, and if you're able to understand what are those things that you can tell the AI to make that campaign,
Exactly.
then you don't need a lot of people who were maybe needed to create that campaign. Am I right in saying that?
See, you will yet need an execution bench, right? You will yet need somebody to design, you need somebody to create images, so on and so forth. Because I don't think AI today, in terms of images, is yet extremely astute towards building, making an image for an Indian woman wearing a salwar kameez. So I think the execution guys will yet be there, but the thinking guys, right, will have to either adopt and adapt, or I think they'll perish.
Very well said. So it's not that they will take their jobs, but people who do not apply AI to make their jobs better, those guys will perish. Understood. No,
We
this is
had we
great.
had people who used to make artworks by hand. So they used to take a blade and make the artworks. There were people who used to use the color spray gun to create an image. They are extinct. Today they don't know where to go because they've never evolved themselves. So instead of getting threatened by AI, I think one should welcome AI and try and improve your skill. If your skill, let's say for example, if you are a strategist, right? Use your strategic thinking along with AI and come up with things faster and better.
Very well. Very well. No, thank you, Monish, for your time. We're almost, at the time where we're going to wrap up the conversation. Any last thoughts that you want to talk about to the audience before we let you go?
I think my last thought is something that you said in the beginning. Everything works because of the art and science of things, right? Whether it's running a company, whether it's growing a child, whether it's launching a product, whether it's anything. Right? I think the science is extremely important, but if the science marries art, then I believe that the entire effort is much, much more holistic and it's more failure proof.
Got it. So while we are at this, last question for me. Yeah. So while we talk about art and science, what about intuition and data? What is the difference there in marketing? Is it more data driven or it's still more intuitive?
Now, I think data can give you intuitiveness, in my opinion, is over, right? It's like Narayan Murthy says, in God we trust, for everything else there is data, right? So, right? But data does two things. It does things for the art and it does things for the science. So data gives you the insight to build the story, and data gives you the direction for the science.
Right. So you need to still collect and make sense of that
So
data,
today,
right?
let's say there's an agarbatti brand, right? Now, there are two types of consumers. One consumer comes in to buy agarbatti because he does puja every day. The second guy buys agarbatti because he likes the fragrance in the house. Now, if data tells us that this particular user profile likes to buy agarbatti because of puja and here he likes because of the fragrance, then you create campaigns accordingly. You create different stories for them.
Hmm. Great, thank you. And Monish, if any of our anyone in the audience wants to reach out to you, what is the best way that they can?
I think monish.gatalia@gmail.com.
Right.
My email is always open, so anytime anybody wants to ask questions, happy to do so.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Monish, for your time today. Really appreciate it.